And let me just hit the go live button. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is a weird night. Just sorry. There are I have some technical issues going on with other stuff. So it just made for a messy beginning. But you know where you are. You're on the Joe and Joe Weather Show with Joe Rayo on the left, and I'm Joe Chaffee here on the right, and also starring tonight, everybody on the chat board. And big hellos to all. Uh, as you like to say, Joe, technology. It's
I've heard that word far too many times, so we'll just let it pass.
what I hate is the fact that I go to fix one thing and I fix that one thing and wind up breaking two others. So it's
Yeah.
made for a very frustrating and interesting day. This is with regards to my website, but no matter. It's fine. I actually was able to fix something right before we started. God knows if I broke something else, I'll find out soon enough. So anyway, nice day today. The temperatures were nice. The dew points were nice. And I have to tell you, it was really actually nice down here. I got down to low 60s this morning, barely broke above 80. Actually, had a lot of some clouds rolled in during the afternoon that really helped to cut the temperatures down. But it doesn't have that humid feel here in North Georgia, and it's actually been quite reasonable. Now I am sitting here waiting for showers and thunderstorms, which are on the radar close by.
Well, we have 60 degrees this morning, and right now it's about 75, and it was a lovely day out there, blue skies, puffy fair weather clouds, and we're going to be dealing with another clear, kind of a coolish night tonight. Radiational cooling, Joe, at least across the Hudson Valley, with some of the inland locations, let's say north of 84 especially, probably getting down into the lower 50s, but urban locations, Yonkers, Mount Vernon, coastal locations, New Rochelle, Mamaroneck, probably hovering at or around or just above 60. So widespread in temperature, but a nice night tonight. Looks like another beautiful day tomorrow with lots and lots of sunshine. Temperatures probably peaking to within a degree or two of 85. Humidity will still be comfortable. I think actually we'll have tolerable or comfortable humidities through Thursday. And then looks like the humidity is going to be going, or the dew point temperature is going to be going into the 60s on Friday and pretty much staying there through much of the upcoming holiday weekend. So we may have to even use the word muggy at times to describe the weather during Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday. Monday looks like, to me, Joe, a nice day in terms of sunshine, but I think the dews will still be at or above 60 on Monday, too.
Yeah,
So enjoy these couple of days.
the flavors changed a little bit going into early next week. I won't disagree with you. I still tend to lean on the idea though that much of the weekend I think is going to be okay. I mean, I also think we'll have to see with these showers and thunderstorms for Saturday when that front approaches. If the timing is for mid to late afternoon, I think the possibility that we could see a little bit of severe weather risk with those, and still trying to figure out that front kind of hangs just a little bit on Sunday. So we're going to kind of be on the edge of some clouds for a little while, but I'm going to still lean to an optimistic outcome overall. And I looked at the long range. It's astounding to me. Here we are now going into July and looking at the overall pattern through the middle of the month. And in general, you've got troughing that wants to be in the east. You're going to get some ridging that wants to be in the west. And I will say this, if that is something that starts to hold on as we get into August and September, when we start to get into the heart of hurricane season, it's going to make for some very interesting possibilities should something develop in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, I hear you, but it usually is kind of hard to have a specific type of pattern, be so prolonged for more than, let's say, 5 or 6 weeks. It might happen. It might be the case. We'll see how this all pans out. Right now, though, it looks like we do have some action in the tropics, although nothing that anyone in the United States needs to be concerned about.
No, you are correct. So why don't we go right to that? And I've got the floater loop. I can't see there's definitely a mid-level circulation now. If you look at the loop, and I've got unlike last night when they just started the floater, I'm going to add. Let me add 24 more frames to this. But I see at least some mid-level turning going on, and there is a lot of convection there. There's a nice little ball of convection uh, where I think it's probably going to be, if there is a low-level circulation, it's probably on the western edge. But I'll let the loop load, and then we'll see what it looks like. But definitely a little bit of outflow going on over the islands. The bulk of the convection is east of the center. So it's not really all that well organized, and based on what the Hurricane Center, the plane this afternoon showed, I don't know if I saved the recon. Uh, I can go back and get it in a moment. But the recon did actually find 45 to 50 knot easterly winds in a fairly large area, but they were all easterly winds. I didn't see any west winds. I didn't see any north winds, and you want to see that. But looking at this loop, there's some turning going on there. I think you can see it. But is there a low-level circulation center underneath all that? I don't know. That's another question. The Hurricane Center, I'm sure, will determine one way or the other what's going on here.
Yeah, it looks semi-impressive on the satellite picture, but again, we'll wait and see. There's another disturbance that's very close to the South Texas Gulf Coast, but it looks like there's only about a 40% chance of anything happening. It looks like that thing may move inland before it has a chance to strengthen very much. So
Well,
that doesn't look like
we could take a look at that. Let's take a look at. I'm trying to see which would be the best shot for that. This might be too far south. Take a look. We might be able to see this on this shot. Let's. You know what? I'm gonna get the no. Let me get the animation loops, the GIF loops, the GIF loops, or the GIF loops, or whatever they call those things. Usually take a long, use up a lot of memory and take a while. Yeah, there's this little twist of clouds here off the Texas coast. You can see it, the area of showers and storms disorganized, and this is going to go inland in the next day or two. So there's also an upper low that's sitting out here that it's fighting. So that's another issue. But you can see there's a little concentration of some showers and storms, but I don't see any circulation here to speak of. Actually, the thunderstorms that are blowing up inland look more impressive than what's offshore.
I've just I'm just looking at my forecast that I posted on Facebook. I didn't quite understand one of the comments. Somebody wrote on Tom Mazzarella. He said, check the record books show 769 might be a new record for Friday night. And I said, what does that mean? And sure enough, for Friday, I said sunny, hot, more humid, high 92, low 769.
Ah, you made a little
Oh dear.
you made a little bit of an error.
Yes, yes, a little bit. So we're going to check that. We're going to change that right now. And yeah, getting back to that disturbance, not really looking all that great. And overall for the week, Joe, I think we're going to stay dry through the rest of the week with a gradual increase both in terms of temperature and also in terms of humidity. I think once we get to Friday, it will feel rather humid out there. Certainly more humid than what we're going to be experiencing overnight tonight, tomorrow, and even on into Thursday as well.
By the way, in terms of the system now moving into the Southeast Caribbean, and I'm not talking about the Southeast Caribbean, I'm talking about way in the Southeast Caribbean because it's barely at 10 degrees north. One of the things that's going to hamper development is this even though the upper air conditions appear to be fairly favorable for strengthening, the center is going to be straddling the coast of South America as it moves westward. So it might have to wait till it gets into the open waters of the Southwest Caribbean before it can really get going in terms of strengthening. But it's moving along at about 23 miles per hour. There's also a tropical wave to the west, to the east of that, disorganized. The Hurricane Center does mention this. It's going to be heading more toward the west northwest and northwest, toward maybe the Leeward Islands over in the next 5 days or so. And they have a 40. I think I have a 30% chance of development out of that one. And as you said, 40% for the one in the Gulf. But again, how much time there is with that, I don't know. There's another wave that just moved off the African coast that's fairly disorganized. Again, they're all south of 10 degrees north. You really, when you start to get into the meat of the hurricane season, you're going to see the intertropical convergence zone, which is what we call this area here, the ITCZ. I don't know if they still call it that. They might have come up with some sort of new acronym, but
Oh, they always come up with something new. Like they changed mesoscale convective complex to mesoscale convective system.
right.
They're never satisfied. Nobody's ever satisfied with what they come up with something and then a few years later, oh, we got to change that. And I don't know.
Yeah. You sound like Ralph Cramden there. Some people are never satisfied.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, the Hurricane Center has this. It's still. Let me see if the 8 o'clock advisory is out yet. And it is. It is still potential tropical cyclone 2. It is at 10.4 north, 61 west, moving west at 25 miles an hour. They actually have it becoming a tropical cyclone during the day tomorrow, but you can see on the forecast track just how close this is to the coast of South America. And they've got tropical storm warnings up for the north coast of Venezuela. And I believe, yeah, tropical storm watches. I mean, for the north coast of Venezuela, they've got warnings up for Trinidad and Tobago. I'm guessing they also may have it up for Aruba. That's pretty rare. And then you go further west, you're looking at places like Curacao under tropical storm watches. And again, they have it actually getting into a hurricane as it's halfway across the Southwest Caribbean, coming out the other side on the Pacific side. I don't think, as we described yesterday in terms of the upper air, that there's any room here for this to exploit any kind of weakness. The ridge to the north is just too strong, so it's just going to get pushed along from east to west, and that's it. There's no, I don't, there's no, I don't think there's any chance of this taking a more northerly track, given the strength of that ridge. And in fact, if you just look, I've got the North America view here, and the ridge actually builds back westward during the latter part of the week and into the weekend. So this thing is going to go right, getting shoved right there into Central America. Because all of this, you got an upper high here. Let me clean this up. Got an upper high between the Azores and the Canary Islands. You've got a narrow east-west upper high sitting here down from Texas to the southeast coast. Hold on, Google's deciding to listen to my conversation. God.
And I forgot now. What is did they change the rule that if a tropical system gets a name and then crosses over from the Atlantic to the Pacific, does it continue with the same name or does it get a new name?
You know what? I don't know if they changed that. I don't know. There's always confusion. It would seem to me that it would be less confusing if they just left it the same name. But I might not be thinking of the reason why they would change would not do that. So
Yeah.
I mean, but to me, it would just seem like you want to keep the same name. I know when you get these systems that we've had, we had Alex was from Agatha. The remnants of Agatha moved into the Southwest Gulf. I mean, you could clearly trace them from the Pacific to the Atlantic side, and they changed the name. They didn't go to Agatha.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm very forgiving. So while we have the upper air up, I might as well just go through the whole thing. And if you watch here going to the next 2 weeks, It's amazing to me how the pattern in Canada is so dominant here, with short waves continuing to rotate down and around. I mean, here we are, July 13th, 14th, and 15th. Uh, the northwest flow of the last toward the end of the period weakens, but how much do you want to bet that that's not going to be the case as we get closer? Because this has been so incredibly persistent. And you've got higher than normal pressures going on throughout much of the North Atlantic and also north of Alaska on the other side. The Arctic Oscillation is negative right now, and that's another reason why we're seeing the jet displace so far to the south. And then the new NAO forecast actually has gone a little negative here for the next 2 weeks. Not much. I mean, it's just the mean is underneath the just underneath the neutral line, so it's barely negative, but it is negative. And you do have some members here that go, strongly negative, and you also have some members that go strongly positive. Just kind of interesting how every day there's been just so little variation to all of this. If you go back to Joe, maybe about June, the NAO was slightly positive for a few days in the middle of June, but it's been basically negative since the Memorial Day weekend. And now it's sort of trending negative. And the PNA, the Pacific North America Index, is actually negative right now, and it's going to be moving positive for the first few days of July, and then it just kind of comes back negative and then goes back positive again. So that would continue to favor the idea of ridging in the west and troughing in the east until such time as the pattern breaks, and who knows when that's going to be.
Well, it was just 1 year ago, and it came up on my Facebook memories page because I took a shot of the screen for my Davis weather station. It was 1 year ago that we were in the midst of a sweltering hot a couple of days here in the tri-state area. Temperature here at Putnam Valley hit 96 with a heat index of 108. That was a year ago, and I do remember it did get hot last year, but I didn't remember that it got hot so soon toward the end of June. But that's what we had. We had to deal with that a year ago, and it will get hot again probably by the end of the week. But I don't think it's going to be quite as hot or as oppressively humid as what we were dealt, a year ago.
Yeah. Well, it can't. If you're going to get cold fronts coming through every 3 days or so, there's no time. I mean, it's funny because this week is actually very paralleling to what happened last week, where we started out with drier air, albeit cooler air, going back even to Father's Day, and then by the time we got to the end of the week, it warmed up and crossed the 90-degree mark, only to have a cold front cut it off, and we're just basically, as you said, it's a wash, rinse, repeat pattern, and we'll do it all over again, with the Friday being the one really hot day. Maybe Saturday, depending on the timing of the front, it could still perhaps climb well up into the 80s to around 90. Perhaps that daytime heating triggers off some severe weather in parts of the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states. But that's probably going to be my focus of attention over the next couple of days, is to see what that's going to, what exactly is going to transpire on Saturday. Or is it going to turn out like yesterday when the front comes through in the middle of the day and you really don't have, you get some downpours, but you don't really have severe weather developing. And we're not in SPC's range yet, by the way, so.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, do you ever get the feeling that in a pattern like this, there really isn't all that much to talk about, and we're doing our best to kind of stretch things out, so to speak?
All right, well, let's get this over with. I guess, I don't know. You're right. No, listen. You know my theory on that. I've said this many times. It's far harder to come up with a show when there's not a whole lot of weather going on. All right, so technically there's always weather going on. I get that, but when there's when you're waiting 3 days for the next cold front and all you're talking about is the fact that it's going to be sunny and warmer each day and a little more humid, there's not much else you can add. I mean, it's hard to really get too bent out of shape over whether the dew point is going to be 65 or is it going to be 66. In the meantime, radars are quiet in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. They are busier, though, in South Carolina and Georgia tonight. There's some showers and thunderstorms actually to the south of me. down in Atlanta. Or just near and northwest of Atlanta. Looks like some heavier downpours there. Also, further south into Alabama, in southwestern Florida, we're seeing some showers and thunderstorms. Here's the action that's going on in Texas from Corpus Christi to San Antonio. The radar's not really. The echoes with the system that's offshore is probably too far offshore to get picked up by the radar. Southeast Louisiana, a little busy with the usual array of afternoon and evening thunderstorms, some showers in the southwest, and then up the Rockies with some heavier downpours up in parts of Montana. The Storm Prediction Center with a slight risk of severe weather in Montana, in central Montana. And we've got 2 severe thunderstorm watches at the moment, Joe, in Wisconsin and southeastern Minnesota in an area of slight risk. Otherwise, it's clear that the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley, the Middle Mississippi Valley, and into the Plain States, not a flake, not a raindrop, not an ice pellet, not a lightning bolt, nothing as far as showers and storms are concerned. The convective
I'll tell you
outlook.
that watch that covers Montana. Montana's not exactly a small state, but
No.
it looks like at least half of the state of Montana is underneath it. Mostly, it's in the central part of Montana. The Big Sky State is underneath some kind of a thunderstorm watch that's in effect until midnight local time. Well, midnight our time.
Right.
Montana's in the Mountain Time Zone, so that's 10 p.m. Mountain Time for them. But yeah, that's a large piece of real estate that they're under. And then what you mentioned just now, a very slight little sliver of Minnesota and the rest across central Wisconsin, and that also is in effect, although it doesn't cover as much territory as the watch out of Montana. The rest of the United States, that
Radar's
nothing.
the radar's busy in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and in central Wisconsin with some showers and thunderstorms. We've got an even into southeastern Minnesota. Just a few severe thunderstorm warnings are popping up at the moment. We don't see, it's not like we're getting dozens of severe thunderstorm warnings, just a few for the time being. Tomorrow it's marginal risk from northeastern Wyoming to Minnesota, North Dakota, and northwestern Wisconsin. The next day, which is day 3, we are looking at marginal risk from eastern Nebraska northeastward into Wisconsin and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It moves a little bit further east, but not much, and still nothing, obviously. This is for Thursday into Friday, and on the long range, they have nothing predicted at the moment. Rainfall, by the way, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch from southern New England to north, not quite into northeastern Pennsylvania, but into northern New Jersey, southward down through eastern Virginia. Heavier amounts along the Carolina coastline of up to a few inches, also the west coast of Florida, the area in southeast Texas. With all that convection that's going on there, up to several inches. The Gulf states getting a peppering of rain of anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to some pockets of 2 inches plus. Across the lakes, it's 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches through the northern plains. Some nice, decent rains for Colorado, where they really could use it because it's also part of that whole area that's bone dry, of a 1/2 inch to 1 inch or so over the next 7 days. Uh, this is an area that it doesn't rain very often in Colorado. It's either it snows, but it doesn't rain very much. So getting the rain is a big deal for them, considering the state of some of their rivers. The water levels are so low. California, nothing. Nevada, pretty much nothing. The monsoons continue, although they seem to be diminishing a bit going forward. So the big question, I guess, is for Saturday. I'm going to bring up the upper air. We'll take a look at this trough that's coming down. I mean, it's pretty much straightforward here beyond that. So we do have a trough that's going by tomorrow. Most of the action with that will be in upstate New York and in northern New England, where there could be a few showers or a thunderstorm. Then that goes out. You get the ridge building ahead of the next trough, which is why it's going to heat up for Thursday. I think we'll see 85 to 90 from northeast Virginia to southern New England, and I'm thinking low and middle 90s, pretty common for the same general area for Friday. The trough to the north on the GFS is not dropping southward as indicated earlier, and I think that's one of the reasons why, Joe, you pointing out that Maybe it'll be a bit more on the muggy side this weekend rather than getting a shot of cool, dry air for Monday because you're not getting what was originally forecast by the model, which is to get a short, get a short wave to drop southeastward and lower those westerly winds. We're just going to kind of be on the edge of those northwesterly winds. I mean, they are going to be northwest, so that at least will push the front far enough south. But I can understand what you're talking about with respect to, maybe it'll be a bit more muggier this weekend than what we initially had hoped for.
Yeah, and that may continue right on into, again, 4th of July Monday. One would have hoped that maybe there would be, and there still is a chance that the dew point temperatures will drop, let's say, back into the upper 50s by Monday. But right now, because of that slow movement, and because the fact that the upper level winds, especially, are not truly coming out of a cool northwest direction, they're kind of like a flat west northwest flow, which means drier air, but not necessarily less humid air. So we may still be a bit on the sticky side on Monday, even though it'll be bright and sunny. At temperatures, we think probably somewhere in the middle 80s, at least in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah, the European has pretty much the same idea. Now, if you're in upstate New York, if you're in central and northern New England, you'll probably catch a dew point break there for sure. And yeah, maybe the 60 dew point line can drift far enough south to make things reasonably comfortable for Monday. Perhaps that would be the most that you could hope for. This morning, I noticed that the dew points in the area were in the 40s in some places at around 5 a.m. this morning. I was like, God, that must feel great. But uh, yeah, just a little bit of a subtle change here in terms of how the models are handling all of this going into early next week. And as you said, this is one of those nights where weather-wise, it's sort of like trying to fit 5 pounds of bologna into a 1 pound bag. It is very difficult. We've got a super chat hit from Roberson Man 95. Hello to you. I think you're new to the chat board. Thank you for hitting super chat. Most appreciated. Hope you join in and take part in the in the conversation because there's always a conversation going on. Let's see. Ms. Spalright says, I heard the question if name systems retain their name if they cross the Atlantic Pacific or reverse. Yes, they do if the center of circulation degrades so that the vortex low is not there and then it regains strength. Yeah, I guess as long as they can find an identifiable feature. But you know what? We haven't had an example of this yet, so maybe we'll get a chance to see it if with this one, if it crosses and maintains its identity as it goes to the other side. I'm trying to think back over the last couple of years. We've had a couple of systems cross, but I don't recall whether they kept the same name or not.
I don't know. I seem to remember this now probably goes back a long time ago, like 20, maybe even 30 years ago, where there was one storm in the Atlantic and it crossed over and it went from a male gender name to a female gender name. And there were a lot of, little jokes, on Letterman and Carson and that, that kind of thing. But yeah, it would make more sense, I think, if the storm, if it did cross over, kept its name. That this, it'd be maybe a little less confusing.
Someone's asking about I think it's David Carter was asking what's going on in Europe with this heat wave. So we might as well take a look at this. Hang on, I'm just setting the map up. Trying to figure out how this works with there's a topography issue in Europe. I'm not really that familiar with it, but here we go. I got the upper air here, and I'm using the European model for the weather in Europe. I mean, you would think that the European model would work well for the weather in Europe. They're mostly in a ridge position from last weekend, big upper high there up in the Baltics, and that falls apart. There's an upper low and trough going into the UK and down into Spain, and then that swings up and around. I would think that would probably provide some relief this weekend. And then it goes back to a southwest flow. There's a big ridge down in Africa. I believe that's Libya there, and another trough dropping down into Scandinavia early next week that makes its way fairly far to the south, all while a new ridge builds over east of Ireland, coming in from the Atlantic. So why don't we take a look? I'm going to put the thermodynamics here. Let's go to the temperature anomaly because I think that'll help tell us what's going on here.
You just mentioned that ridge, and by the time we get to around the 7th or 8th of July, that ridge really builds over the UK.
Yeah,
So, one would have to wonder whether or not it might even have unusually warm or even hot temperatures. I just found out, and this shows you how much of a tennis fan I am, but apparently now they're playing indoors at Wimbledon. They got smart after all these years of,
they've had that.
Wimbledon's that had.
They've had that dome that opens up and closes for a while now.
Okay, see,
Yeah.
it shows you just how much I know
Right,
about
exactly.
tennis.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say they have smartphones now too, Joe. They're not everybody's. People are
Oh, wow.
off the flip phone. Yes. So I'm looking at this, by the way, going back to Sunday. It's very interesting. Yeah, from much of Germany and then eastward, temperatures way above normal, including Italy. But much of France and Spain and Portugal, well below normal, believe it or not, to start off the week. And as we go through this week, so we get to Wednesday, so it looks like the heat's going to continue maybe for another day or two, and then you start to see with the changes that it trends back. It actually goes below average on Friday over Germany, and a little bit then above average again. Meantime, over England and Ireland and Scotland, it's near or below average. Let's see where it is at the end of the forecast period. Oh, it's nice and cool there. By the time we get to 240 hours, most of Europe, except even down into Italy, getting some areas of below average temperatures, while it starts to warm up considerably with that ridge building in from the southeast over England and Ireland. Go figure.
Right, right. That's what I said. I mean, by the time we get to around July 8th, it looks like it's going to be a warm to hot pattern for, Ireland and Scotland and England. The two-headed dragon is not going to be too happy about that.
Leon Probitsky just banged super chat. Thank you, Leon. Most appreciated. Uh, see, somebody's looks like he's jumping on a trampoline. Very exciting. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, but it's one of the stories on the Google News feed today. It was kind of interesting. There's a new study that's coming out from one of the climate organizations, one of the scientific climate organizations, not the political ones. Uh, and it was a very interesting article. It said that in general, over the last, I think it's the last 30 plus years, there has been a marked decrease in hurricane activity in every hurricane basin
Except for one.
for one. Did you see the piece?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Since you and I are both AMS members, and we get this sent to us every week.
Yeah.
These news
No, but
stories. So.
it was an interesting because along with looking at the research with regards to the numbers, they were doing a corresponding research with regards to pollution. And what they pointed out was that over the Atlantic, there's been a marked decrease in pollution, and as a result, more latent heat is being absorbed. And at the same time, on the Pacific side, it's the other way around. There is considerably more pollution being produced by China and India, which apparently it reflects the sunlight back out into space, and as a result, it's resulted in some cooling. It was a very interesting piece. It's out there on Google, so just check it out if if folks want to read up on it. I didn't get the link for it, but it was a pretty interesting piece. And if you go to the AMS website, the American Meteorological Society, you can probably pull it down and read it from there.
Yes, indeed, you probably can.
Yep. All right, you know what? Let's wrap it up because we're going to have to do this again tomorrow with no weather going on. So yeah. So thanks everybody for being here. You and I will have to make a decision regarding what we're going to be doing as regards to being on air during this holiday weekend. But we'll talk about
Yes.
it. We'll talk about it tomorrow. For now, just assume everybody that things are going to be normal until such time as I change them. So we'll just leave it at that. Thanks for the super chat hits. Thanks for everybody for being here tonight. As always, we love having you get on the chat board and enjoy the conversation. Joe, do you have anything to add?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Zilch.
Not a breath? Not an
Nothing.
ice pellet? Nothing?
No, there's not much to talk about as far as either weather or astronomy or whatever. And by the way, Met fans, the Mets are losing 4-0. I'm going to tomorrow's game. This is a Father's Day gift courtesy of my son, daughter, and daughter-in-law. They are treating me to a baseball game tomorrow. I have not been to Citi Field in quite some time, but we're going tomorrow.
Good for
And we're
you.
bringing the nice. We're going to the nice. Have a nice spill of weather out there. 85 degrees.
It's a day game.
It's a day game. It's one of those rare day games right in the middle of the week. Day games at Citi Field start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm looking forward to seeing for the first time the Tom Seaver statue. And when you get into Citi Field, I'm looking forward to getting a Shake Shack. I've heard that and it's been a while since I've been to Citi Field, but I heard that at Shake Shack you could probably get some of the best hamburgers in the New York City metropolitan area,
Yeah.
and a nice thick shake to go with it.
Shake Shack is pretty good. Is pretty good. I've been to Shake Shack. All right.
Okay.
99, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Righto.